welcome to my travel vlog. My name is Oskar and I'm gonna take you on my adventures. First off, we're gonna enter China. And to begin with, I only had 2 weeks in China, so it was only like northeast China, not all of China, just a little bit. It's all good, I did a lot of things anyway. It's pretty hard to get into China or get a visa, especially if you want to go as a solo backpacking, not planning anything kind of style. You know, wing it. I found this pretty cool thing or method that I'd used, and I took contact with a school that was named the Kunyu Mountains International Kung Fu Academy because I was interested in Kung Fu. They told me that I could get a visitor visa to their school for 1 month. I went from Sweden the 6th of November on a plane ride to Berlin. I switched in Berlin, went to Beijing, where I had to recheck everything, and then I went to Yantai, which is on the far east coast of China. From Yantai airport it took 2 or 3 hours to get to the Kunyu-chan, or the Kunyu Mountains, where the school is. I was pleasantly surprised. It was actually up in the mountains, not in a temple, like it was more like an academy school, but it was still in the mountains, so we had close to awesome nature. I went on a 17 hours train ride straight into China to Luoyang, which I found out the week before was the birthplace of Kung Fu. And this train ride was pretty crazy. It was during the night time, and you can choose often from sitting seats or cabins. And of course I took the sitting seat because I'm cheap. It was alright. I sat with a family, and you know, like, you try to sleep some, you got some sleep, some not. It was okay. And just a few hours outside of Luoyang was the birthplace of Kung Fu. So I asked my way around. I tried to find local buses that would take me there, and without speaking much with anyone, it was more like they yelling at me, and I'm like, alright, and following and just trusting people. Let's say like this, I pretty much gave them the name or the location I wanted to go, and then I was just trusting them completely to understand what I meant, and let them show me the way. I got on a bus, and it took me maybe 2 hours just out on the countryside. It was smoggy and bad weather, and it was bumpy roads. In the middle of nowhere, they were pointing at me from, like, the chauffeur, it was pointing at me and said, off, you go off. Kung Fu that way, kind of like that. And I was, alright, I'm stepping off. And I waited there for maybe 20 or 30 minutes, and then another bus arrived. He had no idea who I was. I had no idea who he was, obviously. So I just asked once again where the Kung Fu temple was, or how I could get there. And he was like, yeah, come on the bus. And I went on the bus, gave him some coins, and 2 hours later I found myself at the temple. And at the temple it was a lot of touristy shops and stuff, so I could get by English there, asking how I would get back and so forth. Now, the birthplace was really cool itself. It was originated by some Indian monks going there, and they had a hard time teaching the Chinese monks their meditation techniques. So they came up with this idea that you could meditate with your body in movement, and they created Tai Chi pretty much, which then created the other Kung Fu forms like Shaolin and Wing Chun. And the day after in Luoyang I had a day to spare, so I met this pretty cool Chinese guy. He was a businessman from Hong Kong, and he asked me if I wanted to go on a Red Lantern market. I had no idea what that was. It's not the red light district, just so you know. It was actually a Red Lantern market, so they had a lot of red lanterns on the streets, and it was a market, food market. The funny thing with this guy was that he didn't know much English, even though he was a businessman, and I, as you can imagine, didn't know much Chinese. So we communicated for 2 or 3 hours through his app in his phone. So he was talking Chinese into his phone, and I read it in English, and then I answered or asked question in English to this phone, and he could read it in Chinese. And we did this for 2 to 3 hours. Still connecting, having a great time together. It was pretty cool. On my way to Xi'an, it was a 5 hours train ride, night train of course, to save time, you know. And I was stupid enough to take a sit place once again. And I was really tired and getting worse fever. So I took some painkillers. It didn't work pretty much. But I found some joy in sitting next to a bunch of Chinese older men having a drinking game, so that was pretty fun as well. I arrived to Xi'an 5 in the morning. I went to a burger bar and just slept there at the table for a while. I went on. I noticed that I had 39 or 40 degrees fever somewhere there, so I was just propping in painkillers, trying to get it through the day, because I wanted to do Xi'an in 1 day. And if you don't know, outside Xi'an is the Terracotta Warrior Army. So I went on a tour guide to Terracotta Army. I didn't went on a guided tour, but I took a tour bus there, and then I went around checking all the things, reading, listening to all the history. Alright, so at the night time, when I had done my day in Xi'an with a stunning fever, I booked a night train from Xi'an to Beijing. And this night train was 13 hours, but this time I booked a cabin, like a sleeping cabin, because I really had to rest off the sickness. That was the worst train ride in my life. Like I got on this train, I got to sleep, a few other Chinese guys came in, no worries, it was all good. But I had the worst nightmares, and I was dreaming that these 3 Chinese men, they were the guys behind my sickness, and they were like doing some dark magic with me in the cabin. Anywho, when we started to arrive to Beijing, they got off. I was alone in the cabin. I could relax. I saw the sunrise, even though it was pretty smoggy, so you don't even see the sun pretty much. I started out my first day in Beijing with going to the Forbidden City, which was so huge. Everything in China is huge to begin with, but that was ridiculous big. After that I went to the silk market, got scammed probably, bought something way too expensive, got ready for the next day, which was the day I was going to the Chinese wall. It was awesome. We went to the wall, a very off part of the wall, and it was snowing. After that I went back to Beijing, had some chat with some people in the hostel, and then got ready for my flight to Australia. So alright, now I'm gonna show you what I did in China, like on the point, like when I was in China. So let's go!
They will charge you a lot, and then that only like good trip to or trip the bigger, they will charge very expensive.
Ni hao, and welcome to China. I have only been here for 1 day. I arrived yesterday to Beijing and took a flight to Yantai, where I am right now, in the Kunju Mountains. And I'm at the traditional Shaolin martial arts academy here in Kunju Mountains. And it's really nice so far. I'm a little bit sad that I'm only staying 1 week, because most of the people that I have met, they are staying for at least a month or up to a year. And I really like what's going on here. It's good vibes, simple life. Today is just a normal day in the academy, right? And we're gonna go follow some guys with weapons. Go.
From the decade from 1920 till now.
So this has been my last day at the Kunyushan Martial Arts Academy. I'm packed and ready to go. This has been an awesome experience and I'm probably gonna get here again. But for a longer stay, this is really good. Alright, so now there's time for grading of the other students and I will watch them and give my moral support, say goodbye to some new friends and then head on to my train that will go on for 17 hours. And what do you think about that? Lad.
Good.
I'm in Luoyang now, in the central China, and actually this city seems a little bit sad because it's a great park, very nicely done, and you know it's a really clear day. You can see the sun up there, but that pretty much is because the pollution hangs over this town like a sadness. And it seems like every single person here is a little bit down, and they actually try to fish in this polluted water. I would not eat the fish that comes out of this. I'm in the middle of Shaolin temple ancestral location kind of thing, and guess what I found? Go! Terracotta ducks. There's a 14.5 kilometers long wall around Xi'an. Yeah, on my way to Beijing. That is the sun. The Forbidden City. Dun dun dun. Well, I'm just out walking the Great Wall of China. It's actually pretty steep right here. Back there is where I came from. This is pretty awesome.
Hold on one second. All right, we're good to go.
Sweet, let's go.
Nice.
Bye bye, China.